What's up everyone and welcome back to the MMA Zone. Today, let's get started with Israel Adesanya names condition for Alex Pereira trilogy. Heading into UFC 287, the last stylebender, Israel Adesanya, was adamant that he did not care what the score was between he and his longtime rival, two-division Glory kickboxing champion, Alex Pereira. Since picking up a spectacular knockout victory in the main event, Adesanya has maintained that with his win, the score between the two has been settled. At the same time, however, UFC President Dana White has teased news of Adesanya in connection to UFC 293 in Sydney, with fans speculating that the middleweight champion could move up to 205 pounds and challenge Jamahal Hill for the light heavyweight title. Should Pereira, who is set to make his promotional light heavyweight debut at UFC 291 against former champion Jan Blachowicz, manage to secure the victory, the theory is that the UFC would book Pereira and Adesanya for a trilogy bout for the light heavyweight title should the stars align. On the flip side, Dana White has also stated that if Pereira gets the job done against Blachowicz, it makes sense for the former two-division Glory kickboxing champ to get a crack at the belt. Should Pereira get the win and find himself matched up against Jamahal Hill for the light heavyweight title, Adesanya could still wind up moving up if Poatan emerges victorious. During a recent in-studio appearance on the MMA Hour, Adesanya spoke about the situation, saying,
"It's no easy task, but yeah, if he wins the 205 belt though, and they might give him a fast track like they did with me, and then they're gonna have a magic, crazy, fucking epic fight, you know, at 205 with me and him, then that'll be also the fifth time.
Yeah, crazy.
Isn't that wild?"
The other route for Adesanya is if he stays at middleweight for the time being would be a fight with the winner of Robert Whittaker versus Dricus du Plessis. However, with the title eliminator taking place just 2 months before the UFC 293 pay-per-view card in Sydney, it seems unlikely that the winner will be ready to make a quick turnaround. With plenty of options available to both Adesanya and Pereira, do you think their paths wind up crossing again in the future? Drop your predictions in the comment section below. Jamahal Hill gives update on Jiri Prochazka fight. 1 year ago, on June 12th, Jiri Prochazka captured UFC gold by submitting Glover Teixeira in the 5th round of their UFC 275 clash in Singapore. Unfortunately for Jiri, an injury during camp wound up forcing him to the sidelines, with what Dana White said UFC doctors called one of the worst shoulder injuries they've ever seen. The situation forced the former Rizin champion to vacate the UFC title, with Jamahal Hill stepping in and fighting Teixeira at UFC 283 for the title. Since then, fans have been anxiously awaiting the return of Jiri Prochazka, who is expected to walk into a title shot upon returning. In the 5 months since Hill won the belt, there's been little news regarding when he would be returning to the octagon, or who he would be fighting. During a recent interview with the Schmo, he revealed that he knows just about as much as his fans when it comes to a potential return date.
And I heard the same thing y'all heard, you know, it's summertime and still where you at though? Where you at though? I mean, I haven't heard anything. I've been waiting for the call. I'm ready to go. You know, at this point it's just I don't care. It's next man up now. You know, whoever peeks their head out first. You know, whoever separates himself from the pack, whoever solidifies as that #1 contender.
The day after the interview was released, Jiri Prochazka took to social media to celebrate the anniversary of the day he won the title, revealing that in a few months he'll be ready to fight in the hopes of reclaiming his belt. After willingly relinquishing the title due to his shoulder injury, the UFC seems likely to make good on their promise of an immediate title shot when he returns to action. Who winds up holding that title when he returns? Only time will tell. Sean O'Malley reacts to Makhachev versus Oliveira 2. In the co-main event of UFC 289, former lightweight champion Charles Oliveira put on a spectacular display as he finished streaking contender Beneil Dariush with a fight-ending sequence started by a head kick. The finish returned Oliveira to the win column after his UFC 280 loss to Islam Makhachev and put him in position to compete for the title once again. After the bout, UFC President Dana White stated that a rematch between Makhachev and Oliveira makes sense after this dominant performance, sparking a frenzy of predictions regarding how things will play out this time around. During a recent episode of his Timbo Sugar Show, bantamweight #1 contender Sugar Sean O'Malley weighed in on the rematch, saying,
We got to remember though, it's not like Islam just took Charles down and he dropped him. He dropped him, passed his guard, and choked him. That was a very dominant performance for Islam. So
That's
Charles,
levels.
For Charles to come, he seems fired the fuck up, motivated, ready to go. Islam's coming off a very controversial win over Alexander Volkanovski. Charles coming off a dominating win over Beneil Dariush. Very interesting fight. That's what I want to see next at 55.
So far, no word from the UFC on when they plan to schedule the fight. However, Makhachev is expected to return to the octagon at UFC 294 in Abu Dhabi on October 21st. Considering how dominant Makhachev looked the first time the two squared off, the MMA community seems to be split in regards to who they think wins this fight. Before we continue, make sure you give that like button some love, and be sure to subscribe to the MMA Zone for all of the latest news. Jorge Masvidal recalls his biggest payday. Since calling it a career after his UFC 287 loss to Gilbert Burns, Jorge Masvidal has been making the rounds, appearing on podcasts and giving interviews while talking about his storied career. During a recent interview with Tyreek Hill of the NFL, Masvidal spoke about a wide range of topics, from the biggest payday he ever earned to the current state of fighter pay in the UFC. Although Masvidal didn't specify what fight he was referring to when he said he earned $5 million, some speculated that it was UFC 251, where the BMF fought Kamaru Usman on a card that generated a reported 1.3 million buys. Masvidal also stepped in on short notice for the fight, flying all the way to Fight Island to compete after Gilbert Burns was pulled from the fight, meaning that the UFC likely gave him a bonus to fill in.
So I'm not trying to count your pockets, but what's the most you ever done made from a fight?
From a fight, the most, I say right around 5 M's. Total, one fight.
5 M's.
And it ain't a bad night.
That's a great
Not
night.
a bad night.
That ain't a bad night.
Sign
You do
me
the
up for
25 minutes.
Since retiring, fans have continued to wonder whether or not Masvidal would return to the octagon. Although he's admitted that he still has the desire to compete, he has maintained that he physically just doesn't have what it takes for his reflexes to keep up with the best of the best. And now for our breaking news story of the day.
What's your prediction on Leon Colby?
That's a great fight. That's a great fight. Leon is so
You want
goddamn
me to tell you what's
dangerous
gonna
on the
happen?
feet. Tell me.
Colby.
Yeah, but you're his friend. Listen, Leon's so dangerous.
Yeah.
And the fact that Kamaru couldn't take him down in the last fight, that was a big deal. The thing about Leon is you can never sleep. He's so sharp. His striking, he's one of the most impressive guys I've ever seen hit the pads.
Yeah, but the pressure of Colby. Come on now.
Yeah. No, it's incredible pressure. Also,
Leon-
the cardio of Colby's off the charts.
Leon did do better than I thought he would at combating the wrestling, the takedowns. So he has improved there.
Yeah.
So we'll see how Colby can mix that up compared to Kamaru. Because Kamaru is good at that also.
Yes.
But does he have more to offer in terms of pressure and cardio?
Well, Colby puts a lot of volume on you. He comes at you fast.
He'll wade in.
Yeah,
He'll take a
he
shot to
wades
get
right
in.
Yeah, he wades right in, and he puts you in a dogfight. And when you're in a dogfight, he's more likely to get a takedown. You know, it's very smart. And also, he's pushing you at a very extreme pace right away. He's letting you know right away from the beginning of the fight, I'm coming after you. You know, like the kind of heat that he puts on people.
Israel Adesanya demands accountability. At UFC Vegas 74, Kai Kara-France was on the wrong end of what many believe to be a bad decision. After a hard-fought 5 rounds with Amir Albazi, Kara-France lost a narrow split decision. When the judges' scorecards were revealed online, many people were both shocked and outraged by the fact that one judge scored the 4th round, arguably Kara-France's best round, for Albazi. The situation renewed calls for judging reforms, with some of the mindset that judges should have to give their reasoning for scoring a fight the way they do to provide clarity in moments like this. Others wanted a complete overhaul of the scoring criteria and judging system, with things like live stats made available to judges during the fight. During a recent appearance on the MMA Hour, UFC middleweight champion Israel Adesanya went to bat for Kara-France after he and Alexander Volkanovski vented their frustrations about the decision on Twitter the night of the fight.
They need to be held accountable, these judges, because they're taking the livelihood of great men, or and just, I won't say ruining their legacies, but just like, come on, man, 100K, that's a lot for a guy who's got a baby on the way. And, they need that. That's food on the table, but they need to be held accountable. Put them at the post-fight press conference. They need to be held accountable and explain, why was this the decision you made?
As UFC President Dana White stated in an interview with Aaron Bronstetter recently, there's nothing he can change about the way the Athletic Commission handles things in regards to judging. In addition, White pointed out that problems with judging are also common in other professional sports, citing judges in boxing and referees in the NBA and the NFL. While it sounds unlikely that anything will be done regarding this situation, what do you think can be done? Sound off in the comment section down below.